No minion, you eliminate one of the clergy.
Hello and Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so nice to be with you. I feel like we were just here.
We were.
Don't you feel like we were? I feel like we were in this very same spot less than 12 hours ago.
That's because we were.
Because we were. We were in this very same spot less than 12 hours ago. Did you leave, Cantor Muchnick? Did you leave or did you just stay?
Yeah, I ended up going home.
You went home. Yeah, I also went home for a little bit. I had a snack. How did you break your fast?
With a lot of food. We had the whole, cream cheese, lox, deviled eggs,
Oh, nice.
We did it that way.
Nice, nice. I planned on cereal. That was my plan. But there was pizza when I got there.
Oh,
so
pizza's not a bad way.
So I had pizza. Yeah. I had pizza to break the fast. So that's...
It's always, right? It's always bagels, lox, cream cheese, white fish, tuna, egg salad, and all that stuff, yeah. That's what we did.
Yeah. Yes. So it's a pleasure to have everyone here in our sanctuary. Pleasure to have you on our live stream. Thank you for joining us on this fine Shabbat. We're mentioning this throughout our Chagim, our high holidays, but also all the time when we meet you. If you want to join us and virtually pray with us using our prayer book, please do so. Go to our website, cbiboca.org. And you don't need to use the high holiday link now because those are over. Well, we still have Sukkot and Simchat Torah, but Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are done. You don't need those books. So now you're going to go to cbiboca.org. On the left side, there's a button that says Menu. Press Menu, drop that down, and then there's something that says Services. Press Services button, scroll down a little bit. You'll see a lovely picture of Cantor Muchnick. And right next to that picture, it'll have a little link that says Prayer Book or Sidur, and you can press that, and you can join us for all of our praying and speaking and talking, and so it'll be really, really fabulous. We are going to officially begin on page 2, where we are going to light some Shabbat candles to officially begin our Shabbat together, our first Shabbat. Some people say this is the most important day of the whole year because it is the day after Yom Kippur. So it is the day that all the promises and all the conversations that we have with ourselves and our loved ones, this is the day that we actually start to fulfill all of those promises that we made. So we are going to continue with the lighting of Shabbat candles. Like I said, that is on page 2.
We should make the whole beam with this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We continue now, so we sanctify our space and time with the lighting of Shabbat candles. So now we are officially in Shabbat, and we can continue to sanctify that time and making our Shabbat sweet with continuing with our Kiddush. That is on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'vratzon inchilanu zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, Be'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
Amen. So we've sanctified our time and our space, lighting our Shabbat candles, bringing in the feeling of Shabbat, letting the week go, but bringing in a little bit of that connection that we had from yesterday, from being with our community, from reflecting on all of our past year together and how we get to move forward and what we get to leave this year and what we get to carry into next year. And so with that, we can also carry ourselves into Shabbat, into Kabbalat Shabbat with Shalom Aleichem. That's on page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Boachem leshalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh Baruch hu, Baruch hu ni leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Tzeitchem leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu.
Continue with Chatzi Kaddish. That is on page 26.
Yitgadal ve'yitkadash shemei rabba be'oma divrach yirutei ve'yamlich malchutei b'chayeichon u'vyomeichon u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael bagala bagala u'vizman kari ve'imeru Amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'olam lol mehamaya yitbarach yitbarach ve'yishtabach mitpar mitroma mitnaseh ve'yitadar ve'yitale ve'yitalal shemei de kudesha berichu le'ela Mikol berchata v'shirata תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו Amen.
Continue with the Baruch Hu now on page 28, and together we stand.
Lai da lai 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 da lai 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 da lai 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 da lai 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 da lai 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 da lai 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 da lai 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 da lai 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
We thank God for making night with Ma'ariv Aravim. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim. בחוכמה פותח שערים ובתבונה משנה עתים. מחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, מעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. We continue on page 33. At the bottom of the page, let's alternate paragraphs on 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works, living language that gives it form? Baruch Ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema 34:35.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated. We continue with V'ahavta on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem emet. As we began our service, we brought Shabbat into our space, Kabbalat Shabbat, the presence of God into our space and our time here together. We continue with the Baruch Hu to officially start our service. We thank God for creation. We just went through and thank God for our moments of revelation. And now we continue with redemption, our third part of our Shema Virchoteha, the section of Shema and her blessings, we ask God for this full redemption with Micha Mocha. That is on page 40.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, v'keyayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Elianu ve'amru, ze Elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Lai 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 ya lai 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 lai.
ונאמר כי יפדה אדוני את יעקב וגולו מלך חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Praised are you Adonai for redeeming Israel. We continue on page 43 at the top of the page. Let's read that little paragraph together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts. We may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Continue with sanctifying, continue to bless our Shabbat with Vishamru. That's on page 44.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Continue now with the Amidah, page 46, and together we stand.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avoteinu v'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We continue silently now here on page 52 through page 62. When you're finished, please be seated.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני tzuri vegoali, Adonai tzuri vegoali. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my Redeemer. Yiyu liratzon imre fi vehegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri vegoali. Adonai tzuri vegoali.
Simple Sam was a simple man. He lived each day by a simple plan. Enjoy your life and live while you can. Make each day count and take a stand. Stand on the left or stand on the right, whichever one you think is right. Live each day as if your last. Life's too short and gone too fast. That poem was written by Erwin Mercer, which I appreciate because I was looking for a little poem to start a little drosh for you this evening. And so I thought that was very nice and appropriate and connective for what we've been talking about over these last weeks. And so it's, in Hebrew, the idea of a poem, sometimes a poem, a song, are sort of mushed together, the way that we translate the word shir. So sometimes it's a little bit of both. And so I wanted to talk to you about a poem / a song today, because that's what the Torah portion is about on this Shabbat. It's called Ha'azinu, is the name of the Torah portion. And Ha'azinu has the word ozen in it. And ozen means your ear. And so it's this idea of like, give ear. I often think it's like the friends, Romans, and countrymen, lend me your ears. It's kind of like, give full attention to what I'm saying. We've been talking about this for a while now, this 37-day-long speech from Moses, and it essentially concludes with this Torah portion. There is another Torah portion in the Torah after this one, but it's the one that's connected to Simchat Torah. So that one is really connected because that's the one that ends the Torah for us to start the Torah again. It's not a freestanding Torah portion. So this is actually the last freestanding Torah portion. And so we know when this poem ends, because the poem comes from Moses. We know that when the poem ends, Moses dies. So this is his sort of last moment that he has with the Israelites. And it opens up by saying this: "Listen, heavens, and I shall speak, and let the earth hear the words of my mouth." That's how it opens up. Listen, heavens, and I shall speak, and let the earth hear the words of my mouth. That's how he opens up his last bit of his speech. And we know that, again, it's in Ha'azinu, and we know that the song is recited by Moshe, by Moses, on the day that he passes. And so the song is poetic, hence my little poem at the beginning. It's quite powerful, it's quite poignant. And if you look at the Torah scroll, or really any Torah scroll, this one or any one in the world, the columns are different. If you look at a Torah scroll like you regularly would, it's like a big block of text. This one has these narrow columns, almost looks like it's written to be a poem, to make it look like it's a different structure for us. And it's very interesting because the way it introduces itself, it has this beautiful description of God's kindness to the Jewish people. So we start with kindness, it's very nice. And it talks about how God is a protector, and God spreads God's wings over us and carries us and takes care of us. So that's the beginning of the poem. Then the poem gets a little more complicated and says, it continues and it makes a prediction actually that the Jews are going to turn away from God and make a bunch of mistakes. It says, talks about idol worship, talks about going astray a little bit. This is what Moses is saying. Then it gets even worse and talks about all this sadness in Jewish history, the connections, the future of what might look like. And there are words that Moses uses about famine, about acting with venom. This very complicated piece of text that talks about how the fact we're going to slither as dust in the earth gets very, very terrible from the way that it starts. And then it closes, by the way, on a lovely, peaceful, lovely, positive note that everyone's going to rejoice, and God's going to say the nations will all rejoice, and it's kind of a happy ending. But we go on this roller coaster that Moses takes us on in this poem and speech. What I find interesting, and we'll talk about this a little bit tomorrow morning at Torah study, hopefully you'll be here at 8:30, is pretty impressive that Moses gives this talk anyway, because if you recall when we meet Moses, he has a speech impediment of some kind. So it's pretty impressive that he's able to do this. So this is a Moses lover. I love that. But here's what I find super interesting about this interesting poem that Moses recites to the Israelites, this song, if you will, is that, well, hold on to that song. Another song, by the way, the Song of David, which comes from the book of Psalms, was sung every day while by the Levites to the priests in the temple. So while they were working, the Levites would sing these beautiful hymns and songs from the book of Psalms, and it would be about serving God and joy. It was lovely. What's interesting, though, is that on Shabbat, during a prayer section called Musaf, which, by the way, the Reform movement does not do, and that's why the Move movement should be thankful, because that adds about 25 minutes to 30 minutes to your service. Cantor Muchnick can attest to that for all the years that he was served at Cantor at a conservative synagogue. How many minutes was that, at least? At least 45 extra minutes. So you're welcome, Reform movement. There is no Musaf, and it represented an extra sacrifice. And so what's interesting, though, is on Shabbat, surprisingly, the Levites would often sing the Ha'azinu one, which, again, you remember, was this roller coaster. And they would spread it out, and they would complete it over 6 weeks. So they would alternate it, which meant that some weeks we were talking about the highs, and some weeks we were talking about slithering in the dust. And it was very interesting, the commentaries were saying, why would, on Shabbat of all days, would the Levites be singing this particular piece of this poem or this piece of music, if you will, from Moses about the highs or the lows? The good weeks were great. The bad weeks of the 6 weeks were pretty treacherous. And so why is that? And the commentary, of course, has this beautiful idea that the answer is that in the weeks that the Levites sang the bitter parts of the song, they were teaching us how to overcome difficult parts in our lives. That's what those lessons were, essentially. That we shouldn't expect to wake up every single day and hear a joyous song playing in our ears. Not every single day. Not every single day. There'll be some days that there's no song. There'll be some days that there'll be incredible songs. Some days they'll be part of a beautiful song. But the message of the Levites, according to what the text says, is that this whole idea was part of a larger song, which can be heard in full only if you stay, meaning if you appreciate the whole part of the longevity of what we're doing in our lives. That ultimately, there are roller coasters, but that they'll be good and they'll be bad. And of course, the brilliance of why this sits for us where it does. No matter what, how the year falls, Ha'azinu will always fall in these months, touching on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Sukkot and Simchat Torah. It'll always flow right in this spot, always. Which makes sense because it's kind of a roller coaster. Rosh Hashanah is very sweet, but it also makes us begin to reflect on the iniquities that we might have. Yom Kippur even pushes us further into atoning for those and reflecting and pushing our bodies to the limit by fasting and not drinking and eating and standing and praying. So there is the roller coaster up and the down. And then we go to the height, which, by the way, shows up very quickly for us on Monday night into Tuesday, is Sukkot, which is the happiest holiday on the Jewish calendar. So we have that experience. And then Simchat Torah, which even in the name of it is Simcha, is joy and happiness. And so it reminded us of this nice blend that we discover at the tail end of this intense joy that we have in our roller coaster. And so I think that a simple little poem at the beginning doesn't do us justice. But what Moshe does, what Moses does for us in his last words, is show us that there'll be ups and downs. But the most important thing is that no matter what life brings us, remember that we are actually in the middle of a song. And if we keep singing and keep playing those notes, we will discover the music, and we'll discover that there is music all along, no matter what, if we continue on this path. Shabbat Shalom. We think of those in our community who are in need of healing, a physical, emotional, or spiritual healing. In our thoughts and prayers this week, we think of Debbie Backenheimer, Chava Leah Bat Esther, Gary Bendel, Tori Bendel, Natalie Burke, Matthew Burke, Robin Burke, Selma Blattman, Belle Bloom, Lillian Bushell, Sloan Caston, Marshall Cohen, Karen Coles, Chuck Curry, Mark Davis, John Day, Jaden Deal, Anthony D. Gian Tommaso, Judith Dratler, Margot Engel, Bobby Fitchman, Herbert Fitchman, Paula Froh, Stuart Fruman, Alan Gartner, T. Joshua, Modise, Gavin, Martin Gordon, E. Greenberg, Curtis Grodin, M. Hassan, Ellen Hedrick, Larry Horn, Paulette Howard, Stan Jacobson, Ira Kafka, Shirley Kafka, Gary Kane, Esther Rhoda Kaufman, Stuart Kruger, Eric Kupferberg, Gloria Land, Richard Levine, Rochelle Liebman, Robin Lapato Hest, Michael McHale, Michael Medoff, Howie Newmark, Nicole Nocella, Stanley Packman, Arnold Plasky, Gloria Platsky, Gloria Tripp Ravenfeld, Ruth Raymond, Kathy Rebedu, David Baruch Ben Razel, Marvin Revitz, Ali Rohn, Bobby Ross, Mark Rosenberg, Lexi Schlesinger, Mark Samarel, Jason Seidman, David Schwartz, Marcia Shapiro, Danielle Francis Shaw, Marcy Sherrill, Shmuel Ben Vita, Karen Silver, Phil Smith, Robert Solomon, Diane Spiro, Frank Stadulis, Elisa Stavallo, Jordan Stein, Ken Tankus, Linda Villarreal, Claire Weiss, Barbara Werner, Tammy Werner, Vicky Wilson, Levi Yitzchak Ben Sura, Yehudit Bat Bluma, Shoshana Malka, Bat Sima, God Yehuda, David Ben Yehuda. To those names, we had any name that you would like to add at this time. continue Mishaberach 253.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Our announcements are that Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are over. So that's a good announcement. But not that long from now. So Monday evening is Erev Sukkot. We're not doing anything formal for Erev Sukkot here at Congregation B'nai Israel. However, in the morning, so Tuesday, which is the... what's Tuesday?
The 21st.
21st, thank you. The 21st at 10 a.m. will be our first day festival service. It'll be in here in the sanctuary. We'll be doing all kinds of fun stuff. We'll be doing Hallel, and we'll have a bunch of really fun things. We'll have lulav and etrog for us, and they're in and they're fresh. So, our Sukkah building is happening on Sunday, by the way. So Brotherhood Sukkah building is happening at 9:30 a.m. So anyone in here who wants to join us for the Sukkah build, Brotherhood is doing that. Or anyone watching on our live stream, 9:30 is our Sukkah build on Sunday. That's going to be really, really fabulous. And then I'm going to try and get the dates correctly. I feel like the 27th is going to be Erev Simchat Torah, is my guess. And we'll be dancing around with the Torahs in a special kind of varied COVID-friendly way, but it'll still be going on. And the 28th, if I'm still correct, is going to be last day of Chag, and that will also include Hallel and Yisker. That's also at 10 a.m. So I think that there's also, anyone who's also listening, Sunday, I believe at 3 o'clock, this coming Sunday at 3 o'clock is the preschool Sukkot drive-through, but you have to register for that. So please make sure you register for that before showing up for the drive-through our campus for celebrating Sukkot. I think that's all I got for now.
There's also on Sunday from 11 to 12, for those who are listening, there is a meet and greet and info session about Hazamir. Hazamir is an international teen Jewish choir. So if you'd like a little bit more information, please come. It'll be outside under the tent from 11 to 12 here at CBI. And it's open to anyone and everyone, actually.
And give yourself some credit. Ken Mushnik was asked to be the head of the region to lead Hazamir. So he's not just talking about the fact that he's going to be happening here, but he's also the conductor for the whole region, right? For the
Boca chapter.
For the Boca chapter, yeah, from all the way from the Keys all the way up to Maine,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Is that right?
Sure.
All right, great. It's the Boca chapter that goes from the Keys up to Maine, and then part of Canada.
That's your chapter.
And then my chapter for singing is somewhere in Antarctica, where it's
your chapter's the conclusion.
Yeah, exactly. It is not. I play the radio very well. We are going to conclude our service with Aleinu and then Kaddish. Aleinu is on page 282, and together we stand.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We mourn the passing of Shena Baratsky, niece of our member Susan and Sam Goldstein. Also to mention, like we did last week, I think that that Rosh Hashanah will shorten the period of Shiva or Shloshim, and so does Yom Kippur. So anyone who passes in those windows, the period of the 7-day mourning period or the 30-day mourning period get shortened. And so there are no names for Shloshim, for Shiva or Shloshim, because again, the major holidays cut that time short. So we will share the yortzites that are that fall for us this week here at Congregation B'nai Israel. Connie Allen, Grace Alter, Lottie Barrick, Rose Berger, Samuel Berger, Sylvia Berlin, Barry Block, David Chazen, Nina Cohen, Stanford Cole, Alex Coles, Paul Crown, Arnold Delano, Grace Elias, Joseph Elias, Sherry Gershon, Gerald Ginter, Kenneth Greenberg, Jeanette Gunnar, Sam Herman, Philip Kaplan, Sidney Kapner, Charles Kenny, Melvin Klein, Alex Krimsky, Fanny Krimsky, Sidney Laufer, Jenny Lieberman, Michael Z. Lipsche, Grace M. McIntyre, Alvin Orville, Esther Reich, Michael Richter, John Rosenberg, Rose Silver, Fern Sokoloff, Leon Tashoff, Andrew Wald, Alvin Weinstein, Mayor Wiseman. To those names who had any name that you would like to add at this time. Kadisha Tom Mourners Kaddish 294. Yitgadal v'kadash merabah, b'alma divrach cherutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chai echon u'vyom echon u'b'chai dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala u'b'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmer rabba mevorach le'olam u'lemei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei likudisha brichu, le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shamaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, as together we say, amen. Please be seated. And we conclude tonight with
Oseh Shalom,
Oseh
page
Shalom.
343. Oseh Shalom, Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh Shalom, Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen, amen. Ose shalom, shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
Adonai oz la'amo yitin, Adonai v'rech l'amo v'shalom. May God give strength unto our people. Continue to bless us with hope and strength and love and peace to all. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat